Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Tracey Ingle here. We are continuing on with our Facebook Live series on the nuts and bolts of MassHealth. The reason I wanted to get this information out there is particularly this week, the holidays are coming upon us and it's a crazy year. Some of you, though, will be traveling to see family that you haven't seen in a while. And some of you will see your family virtually via Zoom or FaceTime or however it is that you'll make that happen. And it's been a particularly difficult year for our seniors. They have not responded well to isolation and many are struggling. So you may see some big changes as you see your seniors, elders, the elder members of your family, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever it might be. You may see that there have been some really big changes in their life, in their abilities, in their strength as you travel for the holidays to see those folks. So I wanted to get this information out because I'm getting a lot of questions on what happens if someone needs care, if mom and dad are no longer safe at home, if we have to figure out that financial piece of how we're going to deal with whether it's home care or assisted living or nursing home care. Lots of questions come up around that. That's what this Facebook Live series is all about, to get you that basic information out there regarding all of the nuts and bolts about qualifying for MassHealth, Medicaid, for home assisted living, nursing home care. So that's what this series is about. I am Tracey Ingle, the principal of Ingle Law, where we are the probate puzzle people, and we work with all of today's modern families, helping them have the plan that they need so that they know everybody is safe and protected no matter what and no matter when. If you want to make sure to get updates when we are going to go live, notifications about that, make sure that you like us on Facebook. So you can go to facebook.com/IngleLaw, and that will make sure that you will get those notifications when we plan to go live. I will be going live. This is the second. I will also be going live tomorrow and then again on Thursday, all at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Everything that I am talking about in these live presentations, you can get through our nuts and bolts guide to Medicaid. You can get that at masshealthguide.com. I've put that URL on the screen. And everything that I am talking about during these lives can be available there. And before I'm done today, I'll tell you where you can get some more information as well. So what are we talking about today? Today, we're talking about Medicaid that pays for home care, home assistance, as well as assisted living. And I will say it is a very, very narrow group of people who can fit into these programs. Medicaid really does not pay for a lot of home care or a lot of assisted living. And when they do, it has to be just the right set of circumstances for it to work for folks. For example, the home-based care that Medicaid provides, someone may need 15, 20, 30 hours or more a week of care and assistance. And the particular Medicaid program that can be applied for might only cover 10 hours. So you're still left trying to figure out how to make up that shortfall. With assisted living, Medicaid for assisted living, that is also a really narrow category. There is no requirement that assisted living communities accept Medicaid as a form of payment. So what a lot of assisted living communities will do is they will reserve that program for people that have been a resident with them for a number of years already, but now maybe they've run out of money. And as they're running out of money, the assisted living is willing to switch over to the Medicaid program that pays for assisted living, or that plus an additional amount that they may ask family to pay. There'll still be that shortfall that needs to be made up. But a lot of assisted livings will shift over to accepting that Medicaid program because honestly, from the PR perspective, nobody wants to be the assisted living that, grandma spent her last dime with over 4 years and then ran out of money and they evicted her. It's a PR nightmare. So nobody wants that. And that's where you have assisted livings agreeing to accept Medicaid because some money is better than no money. And they just kind of work it into their budget to make sure that the numbers are going to work long-term for these residents. So What is required to qualify for these programs? So these programs, basically, they have the same requirements. And in this case, there is an income cap, and then there's also an asset cap. For a single individual, you cannot have more than $2,349 a month in income. These numbers change annually. This is the number as it exists, today. So always make sure you double check any numbers spoken about Medicaid. Always change regularly. So it's always important to double check those numbers. But right now it's $2,349 a month. And that is gross income. So be mindful of that, because most people, if you ask them what their Social Security benefit is, they tell you the amount that gets deposited into their bank account every month. But that's the net amount. Remember, their Medicare premium is deducted prior to that amount hitting the bank account. So we have to look at the gross income. What is the Social Security benefit before any deductions? What is a pension benefit before any deductions? All of that has to be added up. And if it's more than $2,349, then it's not that you don't qualify. You'll be subject to a deductible, but the deductible is huge. The way it's calculated is really, really difficult for it to make sense for most anybody. So if your income is below the $2,349 a month, though, then you don't have a deductible. And at least from an income standpoint, you qualify. Then we have to look at assets. A single individual cannot have more than $2,000 in assets. And it's cash in the bank, it's cash surrender value of life insurance policies, retirement accounts. Home equity is protected. So that's something to be aware of. Home equity up to $893,000 is protected. But what we are looking at is countable assets cannot be more than $2,000. Now, if it's a married couple, again, the spouse who's applying, their income needs to be below the $2,349. The spouse who's not applying, they can have unlimited income. We don't look at their income. From an asset standpoint, again, the spouse who's applying can't have more than $2,000. The spouse who's not applying can have $128,640 in countable assets. Again, home equity is protected, but what we're looking at with countable assets is money in the bank, retirement accounts, cash surrender value of life insurance policies. Basically anything, if you can cash it in, it's going to be countable. Now, the key for this program to work, right, because your income is going to be low, assets are going to be minimal, and then if once approved, Medicaid will then, the local area service provider will come out, they'll do a survey and an assessment and determine how many hours you're deemed to be able to receive. And it's inevitably not going to be enough. And so then the question is, how do you piece together the other services that you're going to need? It becomes like a patchwork quilt, right? Where Medicaid provides a little bit of coverage and you get a few more hours from the service provider agency itself. And then maybe a child or a family member is going to provide a little bit more. And eventually we piece together something that's going to work. The key for a married couple is that spouse that has the $128,640, that asset limit, that stays for the entire time that these services are in place. So that spouse has to stay below that $128,640 over a long period of time. That can be a challenge. So that's something to be aware of. All right. So that same program, all those numbers that I just talked about, it's the same numbers for applying for assisted living as well. The numbers are exactly the same. It's the same program. It will just pay for services at home or pay for assisted living. All right. So as I mentioned, you can get more information about this through our MassHealthGuide.com. Also, I am going to be doing a live webinar on December 9th at noon, December 9th, 2020 at noon, where you can get all of this information. Some people like to learn by hearing things. Some people like to learn by reading it, a la the nuts and bolts guide. And some people prefer to see it on the screen in front of them. And so that's where our webinar comes in handy. So we will be doing a webinar on December 9th at noon, where I will talk through kind of all in one time, not in these little bits and pieces, all the things that you need to know about being eligible for Medicaid, applying for it, dealing with getting an approval, getting a denial, getting an approval, what to do after the approval, planning ahead, anything that you can possibly think of with regard to the nuts and bolts of Medicaid for home care, assisted living, or nursing home care. We'll be talking about in that webinar on December 9th. Would love to see you there. You can go to masshealthwebinar.com. It will be an opportunity to ask questions. It will be a live webinar. It's not pre-recorded, and you can ask whatever questions you have. I'll be going through a lot of examples, dealing with a lot of the frequently asked questions that I get, and we'll save plenty of time to answer questions. I know last time we did this last May, I think we probably answered questions for a good solid 40, 45 minutes. So it was great to get people the answers that they, so desperately need. This is an area where there's a lot of questions that come up. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And like I said, I want to make sure that you have the information you need so that as you are seeing family over this holiday season, and inevitably some of those family members are going to have had some big changes, and there may be a lot of questions about their safety at home, and it's time to start thinking about what's next for them. I want you to have this financial information in the back of your mind to know that you have choices, to know that you have options and what they are. All right, that's what I have for you for today. Tomorrow, we will be moving into talking about Medicaid for nursing home care. And then on Thursday, we'll also talk about the actual application process itself and what to do after getting either a denial or an approval. And we'll talk about both of those. And denials are not uncommon, and they're also not that bad. They're not scary. We have a lot of ways of dealing with those. I'm Tracey Ingle, the principal of Ingle Law. It has been great to talk with you today, and I will look forward to seeing you on our next Facebook Lives and also on our webinar on December 9th. Have a great rest of the day.